tools, decision-making tools. Now, this may look backwards to some of you who have maybe used these tools in a quality, while executing quality projects. Normally, the Pareto chart is used in either the define phase or the measure or analyze phase of the DMAIC methodology for projects. But I told Eduardo that I would talk about Pareto charts and give just an example or two. So that's why it's on this list. So the first two, pick charts and prioritization matrices, are normally used to make decisions when you're in the define and improve phase, where you're trying to find solutions of a lean or Six Sigma project. So hopefully today I'll just give you some examples, show you the benefits of these, and maybe open your eyes to using them in a different fashion for maybe different decisions. So before I start, these are some of the terminology I'll use throughout this. So just a couple of terms that you're probably all familiar with, but for those of you who are not, they're in the slides. So let's start talking about a pick chart. It's one of the simple tools that you might use when you're trying to make a decision or trying to prioritize different options, whether this is in the realm of a quality project, in a quality department at work, or even in your personal or other professional life. So the nice thing about pick charts is that it's very easy to do and it's very easy to understand. So we use this because it's a visual decision-making tool. This is one of the charts or graphs that I talk about in my class. Our class is separated into the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And so this is taught during the improve phase. So it's perfect to use when you've got non-technical people in your team, or you're presenting this, because it's really easy to interpret. So it can be used also for any industry as well. So what we're trying to do here in a pick chart is categorize ideas so that you can review them easily and do a simple analysis on two dimensions: the level of difficulty, how easy or hard it is to implement or deploy in your life or your organization. And the other factor is the level of payoff or the impact from high to low. So what you should get out of doing a pick chart, what might be the results, is that you have a documented chart that helps prioritize ideas to the team so they can make a decision and choose the best solution to solve a problem, or to choose the best next action. And by doing this, you can also save all your scarce and limited resources. So what is this? The pros and cons: anywhere, anytime, by anybody. It narrows down the options. That's the main goal here, is to have a lot of information that you want to narrow down so that you can make some educated decisions. The cons of it is that you could have lots of ideas. It could get very busy. It could be misunderstood. And it assumes that all your ideas have been clarified and everybody understands what they are. And it also assumes that you've had some subject matter experts in the room while these ideas were being vetted. So this is one view of a pick chart. PIC stands for possible, implement, kill, and challenge. Possible, implement, challenge, and kill. Let me do that in the right order. It is a matrix. It's a 2x2 matrix. The horizontal scale measures the benefits or the impact. Vertical scale measures the difficulty of implementing that idea, that solution. So it is also used to evaluate projects or ideas. And when you do that, you place it in the most appropriate of these 4 quadrants. As I said, the acronym is PIC is for possible, implement, or just do that. So you're in the, if you're in the possible, see my screen too well. If you're in the possible range here, those are maybe we can do those if we have time. Implement would be just do it because there's high payoff, high impact, and it's easy to implement. The challenge is high payoff, but it's more difficult. It's more, the scale of that is more difficult than it would be if you're trying to implement something. And then kill over here is it's a low payoff, hard to do. Just you might want to just ignore those or put those way on the way back burner. Okay. When you're talking about the challenge quadrant here, when you're in that realm, there's pretty good payoff there, and these ideas have nice high impact value, but they're just a little more difficult to actually put into place. So if you have challenge ideas and you can actually tweak them a little, then you can maybe move that idea up into the implement quadrant, and it would be an idea or project that you would actually want to consider. But in order to, the reason you're doing this is to make a decision. Another way to do it is to flip it over so that your impact is on the left axis and your effort or difficulty implementation scale is on the horizontal axis. I like this slide, or I like this graphic. This comes from Mark Graben's leanblog.com. And instead of kill, they have kibosh. That comes from a company called ThetaCare, where they thought that was a little nicer than using the kill word. As you can see, it's just a little bit different format than what I had on the slide before. So as an example, and I've done this with my class as well, all of us have been affected by the freeze, and maybe we had high electric bills or didn't have any electricity at all. So this is assuming during the summertime or when the weather gets a little warmer that you might have high electricity bills. So possible solutions that you might have come up with, came up with this in a session with my students, and the possible solutions were set the temperature higher, grill out or use crock pot instead of the oven or stove, change electricity companies who has a lower rate, turn off your lights when you leave the room, install more insulation in that attic, combine loads in the washer, dryer, and dishwasher. All these are energy conserving possible solutions. Check the seals on your windows and doors, install ceiling fans, install a programmable thermostat, and maybe move to a new home. It's more energy efficient. So as you can see here on the right, this team, again, these are not scientific results by any means. So the impact payoff, if you look at these quadrants, I don't have these labels, but this is the possible quadrant right here. Here's the implement, big impact, and implementation. Sorry. Over here is the challenge ideas, and over here on the right, or left, I mean, are the kill ideas, or kiboshes, we might say. So I don't know if everybody agrees with that or not, but that's how it turned out in this scenario. So as you can see up in the upper right-hand corner of the PIC chart, is number 1, which just happens to be set the temperature higher in the summer. So number 1, number 9, install a programmable thermostat, or 7, check the seals on your windows and doors. And this team would have, these are all the implement ideas, but you would want to go with the idea first that has, depending on the cost and the risk involved, there are other things to consider instead of just these possible solutions. So it's best to actually talk about it when you're doing this. Some kill ideas would be to move to a new home. That's number 10. And 8, install ceiling fans. That might be difficult to do. Again, this is assuming you own a home and you can make these types of adjustments. So that's a pick chart. You can also use pick charts. Pick charts are used a lot in lots of industries for project selection as well. So this is another 2x2 matrix. It's a project prioritization matrix. You see up in the left-hand quadrant, upper left, it's do it now, and it's crucial, down to do it later, and it's not crucial. So does anybody have any comments or feedback on pick charts? Have you ever used a pick chart? Or is this the first time you're exposed to this tool?
Hi, Donna. This is Kim Lita.
Hello.
I've never seen a pick chart before, but I mean, intuitively, it looks pretty nice. I like it.
Yeah, my students like this tool as well. Okay, well, the next, one of my other favorites of quality decision-making tool, again, this is a group decision-making tool, and that is the prioritization matrix. So the goal here is to actually rank your options based on some criteria that you predefined to help you make a decision. The benefits is it helps to break down a complicated problem where there are a lot of multiple factors involved, where you have to make a decision or pick the best solution. Whether that is I've got an example here in a minute that's, buying a new car, or choosing a graduate school, or you have multiple job offers, congratulations, and you need to pick a place that you're going to spend a majority of your career. A lot of other things. It helps me. I've used this because it really does help narrow down the choices, and it helps me write down or think about what are the fences here? What do I have to have, instead of going all over the place and trying to make a decision where it's kind of chaotic. So it ranks priorities unambiguously. So that's what's nice. It takes out the emotion when you're trying to select or make a decision. It enlists buy-in because everybody gets to talk about what the criteria that they're most interested in and what the options are, and it documents the decision-making process, which is always helpful when you have sponsors or champions or management that's waiting for you to give recommendations. So we can't do everything right, or we can't choose everything. If we're going to buy one thing or choose one item, this is something that might help. There are several types of prioritization matrices, and I just want to mention that a lot of this information comes from the Memory Jogger 2. This is a textbook that I have in the references as well, that we use in the quality improvement methods class. So the full analytical criteria method, this is the method I'm going to discuss today. It's for smaller teams. Your options aren't very, the magnitude of your options is not big. It's 5 to 10 choices. relatively few criteria, 3 to 6 items. Complete consensus is needed here, and the stakes are high if the plan fails. Now, a couple of other, you can get, these prioritization matrices can get very complicated with a lot of weights and a lot of calculations involved. But the consensus criteria method is when you have larger teams, a lot more options, significant number of criteria, and a fast consensus is needed. So that's, if time is of the essence, maybe you want to do a consensus criteria method for a prioritization matrix. Your combination ID matrix method, interrelationships between the options are very high. It won't be in the example that I'm going to show today, but sometimes you have options that cross each other as far as relating to each other, correlations. Finding the option with the greatest impact is critical. You don't have a lot of time or money, so you might use that method. So how do you do this? It's actually an L-shaped matrix. So we usually use this in the improve phase when we're trying to find solutions. So we're trying to select the best solution to the root cause. I always like to really focus on that focusing on, I'm sorry, the root causes, because when you're solving a problem, you're not just solving the problem vaguely, you're trying to eliminate the root cause of the problem. So that's where the solutions come in. It's not just solving a problem. So some criteria that you might see on evaluating each of these options would be, what is the root cause of the problem? Value to the customer, ease of implementation, cost to implement, potential negative consequences, effect on other integrated systems, what's the risk involved, does it need a lot of technology? So you create those, the criteria that you're going to evaluate all your options against. So let me just show you a unfilled out prioritization matrix. I think this will say it better than I can. So again, it's an L-shaped matrix. In this example, I've got the criteria across the top, and the options that you're just trying to decide upon are down the left-hand side. Now you'll notice also there's a legend on this. You have to have some kind of scale because you're going to use a numeric scale to actually tally up your scores and pick the best solution, pick the best option. So in this case, we're using symbols. So the filled in circle on the bottom is equal to 9. So that's a strong, yes, we want that. That meets that criteria well. An open circle is a 3, so that's medium. And an open square is a 1, correlates to a 1. So for example, you are thinking you need to buy a new car. So your problem is that your problem statement might be is that your car keeps breaking down and it's costing a whole lot to fix. So how are we going to solve that problem? You've already decided that you're going to solve that problem by buying a new car as opposed to a used one or something else. So now you come to, what are the criteria? What am I going to use to determine systematically which of these options is the best for me to buy? Again, it's just based on these criteria. There might be loads and loads and lots of other criteria or features that you want to consider, but for the sake of this short tutorial, we're just going to go with this. Again, this is not scientific data by any means. It's purely an example of what I actually drive a Toyota Camry, so I'm not exactly sure about the other options here. So Toyota, a Camry, an Altima, an Accord, a Sonata, and an Impreza. So for the Toyota, I went down and looked at how reliable Toyotas are And in this case, the Toyota it's got a lot of reliability. The sticker price, so-so. So that is a 1. Gas mileage is a 3, an open circle. Performance is a 9, and safety is a 9. So if I did the math right today, I hope so. You can see right away, without even looking at the totals, which ones might be the best option, just visually, because what you're doing is just looking across and seeing which of these has the most black circles. So that's going to add up to the most, because black circles are 9. So in this case, the Honda Accord wins out with a 39, because you total based on the legend. And in this case, it's a 39 based on this criteria only. So if you're buying a new house or you're looking for an apartment, selecting the right solution to vaccinate more people, that was what I've used in other, last semester especially, for some workshops that I have the students do. Also, the problem was having too many bus accidents. How can we solve that problem? So we used a prioritization matrix. So a summary on the prioritization matrices is that this is systematic, but not a science. So just use your common sense when you're doing this. If you have options that are very close together in the ratings, then just use caution. You just want to make sure that you use some other kind of criteria. You might use some multi-voting as well with this. It's just another quality tool for making decisions. And be open to non-traditional conclusions. So is that something that people have done? I want to just say that there are, you can do this very complicated with weights and features. So if you're trying to select a new software application, which we did at Oxy, and we used a prioritization matrix to help us, because we had a lot of strong personalities. A lot of people wanted one solution over another just because they had a gut feel for it. Once we did a prioritization matrix and had all the features and weighed those, everybody got a chance to weigh those in, then it was very obvious what the solution was going to be, and we did implement that solution. So what do you think of this? And I'm sorry, I'm not able to see any of the chat.
So I have a question, Donna.
Yes.
So can you go one slide back to like the matrix? So my comment may be that when I was a young guy, many years ago, maybe a Honda and Toyota was my top priorities, because I put a nice muffler to it, and all you hear me is going down the street, going up and down.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't put noise level here on the criteria.
And then a few years later, I'm a nice guy with a Chevy and a Mitsubishi, where now my Dora, the new generation, is no longer going to Toyota and Hondas, but they're more like Subarus and all these fast cars on the street. So with that comment, my question would be, could this metric be manipulated based on what the person likes? Or like how would you put factual evidence to come up with the numbers?
That's the beauty of this, and the benefit of a prioritization matrix is that it is based solely on based on your criteria, whatever that is. So yeah, if you just say I want a red car that goes really fast and you have no other criteria, then what you buy, it really doesn't matter, does it? So we're using this, again, this is a very simple example, but.
No, but I like it now. Based on your comment, actually, I will now bring the value to this chart, Donna. And I think it's when you're looking for something specific, this will be the chart to go, hands down.
Yeah,
it will give you the best results.
Yeah, if you're just looking at all these are all sedans, basically. So that's why I picked them, because you know, if you're thinking of a Porsche versus a Camry, those options wouldn't be here because you would have narrowed that down ahead of time.
I would say even for job hunting, you know, what type of job are you looking for? What's the reliability of the company, the salary, how much I have to commute point A to point B, what's the performance, what's the safety? You know, this is actually a great tool overall. I really like it. Thank you for sharing.
For job offers, it makes you sit. The nice thing about this is it forces you to sit down and think about what is it that I want ahead of time so that you can make the best decision possible with no regrets later on.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
I have other comments on the chat, Donna.
Yeah.
Sharon Garcia is saying, I've seen this used during a risk assessment session. Sharon, you want to elaborate, or?
Yeah, I mean, we use this tool commonly to rate the amount of risk, for instance, with the software validation or, you know, with the risk associated with a project implementation. And I can see the value here. And the first things first, you have to allow the group to determine what the absolute criteria is, and then build the options from that criteria. So I can definitely see the value in adding weight to the various options. Yes.
Right. You can weight the, if reliability is something you're looking for more than gas mileage, you can actually put a weight to that, to those as well. And that happens in a lot in the other two methods I talked about that I wasn't going to cover today. So yeah, I would say if you're just starting out doing this, you know, this is very visual, but you could just put the numbers in there as well. But this is nice because you can actually see it before you even total everything out. This reminds me of, I look at Consumer Reports all the time, and they do the same sort of legend. If you're looking for something and you want to go on Consumer Reports and see what their tests were, they use a similar format.
Okay, I think Bernadette was sharing. Well, I think we go to the section to sharing. So if anybody wants to share about what tools they use.
Yeah, what tools are you using? I think we've all seen probably the Pareto charts before, so just had a couple of things for that. But no, definitely, when we're talking, Eduardo and I were talking about, you know, what are some basics, and this is some of the things we teach, and not only in projects or quality, but in anything you're doing, you know, if you're trying to make a decision. So pick charts and prioritizations are a couple of my favorites. Unfortunately, in our class, those are kind of towards the end of the semester.
Well, Bernadette mentioned that she has used pick charts.
Great.
Bernadette,
what application? I'm always looking for new applications to put out there for my students for their workshops and scenarios.
Bernadette, you want to share? No? Shy? You unmute yourself, Bernadette, so you can, but I don't think you have the, I don't think she connected the audio. Well, the microphone. Well, we have Brian Bosser. Tools seem similar to sections of QFD, quality function deployment. So Brian, you want to elaborate on that, Brian?
Yeah, I'd love to hear how you're using this.
Well, I used it a long time ago in the automotive field when we were introducing new components and stuff like that, and comparing the doing a competitive analysis, doing prioritization matrices, and trying to understand the differences between the whats and the hows and the how manys, and the differentiation not only between the different product scenarios, or I should say component aspects, but also the competitors as well. So QFD is a quite intrinsic tool. I don't know how much it's used today. I haven't been in automotive in 30 years, but I used it back then.
Okay, great. Yeah, this would be very useful, especially if you have a supplier, if you're trying to pick suppliers as well. You know, what are the criteria for the best supplier for this component in your manufacturing or production process as well?
Okay, we also have a comment from S. Spurling that he said, I've never used PEAK, but it seems similar to SWOT analysis, maybe the quadrant. I'm interested in trying the matrices with some of our healthcare providers. And yes, Bernadette apologizes, her audio is not working.
Yeah, if you have time and you've got a procedure and you want to pick your doctor, this might be a way to do that.
This is Shayna Sperlin. I'm the one that put that comment. What we're trying to do here is I'm trying to find some simple tools for some of our healthcare providers who aren't as schooled in quality to use in their decision making for whether or not to continue some healthcare initiatives they started. They're working under a federally funded program that's been going on for several years, and we used and introduced things like, simple things like PDSA and the root cause analysis and things you talked about to help them early on in trying to decide what initiatives to implement. And now that they're sort of at the end of this funding that's allowed them to do these additional things, they have some really hard decisions to make, and it goes beyond just regular evaluation and return on investment, because some of the initiatives, when you're working with these disenfranchised populations, there's no cost, there's no savings there. There's not a positive monetary return on investment. So it becomes more qualitative than quantitative. And I think this could be helpful in helping them see which of those programs, maybe with the weighted factors and setting some criteria of what's important to their community, which of those programs have enough value that those are the ones they should continue, even if there's a cost deficit associated with implementing that initiative. And I don't know if you think this would be helpful or not, but that's what I'm thinking. So I'm excited to see this. I hadn't seen these matrices before.
Yeah, definitely it takes the, like I said, the emotion out of it, because I know everybody on a team might have a pet, their pet project or their pet solution, or they know somebody who works for that company, so we should pick them. So if you're choosing an initiative, your goals would be your criteria. And if you put that down, like I said, this could get very in-depth and complicated with weights, but sometimes that's analysis paralysis as well. Sometimes just something as simple as, squares and open circles and built-in circles might do the job. You never know. You could start there.
Yeah, that's what's intriguing to me about this, because we do want to take the emotion out of it. Obviously, when you've been providing care to, you know, uninsured people in your community, and now you're going to lose some funding, you want every program to stay. You know, you want it all to live. You don't want to take away any services. And so there's a lot of emotion riding on it. And doing something this simple, I think if they set the criteria, right, what are the most beneficial things? What addresses the community needs, you know, as their criteria, and then evaluate each program as to how it fits that criteria and really does meet the overall needs of the community. With even just these, you know, circles or symbols, it might help them have a visual of which programs are really assessing the needs the most, you know, so that they can prioritize them. So anyway, thank you for sharing this. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I'm excited to try to take this back to them and see how that goes.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Again, you have to pay attention to the legend. In this case, it's 9, 3, and 1. So there's big differences between those, and that is on purpose, so that the best solution, the best option does rise to the top. You just have to be careful when you're doing this that that it's appropriate and that it's useful. And if you're doing it, if you spend time doing it, that somebody's going to look at it and not ignore it completely.
Donna, that's actually a great point you just mentioned. So the margins can change because they seem very biased to the 9, to the dots. Would there be any conflict, or it's that margin okay, or would that be up to the group doing the?
It would be up to the group, but make sure that I mean, I've seen, you know, 1 through 5. I've seen weights. Like I said, you can do a lot with this using weights and other formats and other formulas and calculations. But in this case, it just makes sure that, you know, it's like high, medium, and low. So you want to have a legend, and there are a lot of case studies out there, a lot of examples of using those scales out in the cloud.
You can find them also in ASQ.org. You can find some.
Yes, in ASQ.org. I am going to, does anybody else have anything about the prioritization matrix? Because I want to just show a couple of things on the Pareto, just because there's a case study that I found in Quality Progress from March that is extremely well done. Again, you know, what is a Pareto chart? It's a bar graph with, you're trying to figure out what is impacting your problem the most. Usually this is, and all this is from ASQ.org. So again, 80-20, vital few from the trivial many. You're trying to narrow down what you want to focus on. And that is the biggest payoff of all of these tools, is that it does narrow down your choices and also might offer up the best solution. So I had an example of a Pareto chart where this was a workshop in my class. The problem was that, you know, we're trying to find significant causes of the high infection rate of the virus. So possible causes of this high rate of transmission or infection was not wearing a mask, lack of social distancing, age, underlying conditions, and being in indoor spaces. So again, this is just made up data that shows you that, you know, the main cause of this one, in this case, like I said, this is just made up data, not social distancing, age, indoor spaces, not wearing a mask, and underlying conditions. So you can see by the Pareto and the cumulative line here that all these the three first causes made up 80% of the frequency or the data. But we're talking about ASQ. There is a an article in quality in ASQ.org, the quality progress. It's the March issue. And if I can click on this, see what happens. Let me see if I can get it over to the other screen. I took myself off camera because I'm moving my laptop around. This is from Quality Progress. Can you see this, guys? Eduardo?
Yes.
Proving the middle? Okay. So this is an article. Oh, where did God go? Oh, I'm not logged in. Eduardo, do you want to maybe see if you can get in there and just do a quick search on ASQ.org, proving their metal, and this will come in and then you can share it. But it's combating the COVID-19 pandemic with quality tools. It is excellent.
Okay, I'll try proving.
Proving their metal. Did I stop sharing?
Yes.
Stop sharing.
Proving. I can't see it. Wow, I can find it. It's an article.
Yeah, it's an article in Quality Progress.
Which one?
March 2021.
Okay, I'm searching. You wanna continue?
Okay. My PowerPoint just crashed.
I will share my screen and you guide me to that. And you can see, people can see how you can access your latest issue of the magazine. So
Yeah, I was able to get it once I logged in.
So you can see the magazine, right? You can see the screen.
I think you're sharing the April 2021 edition.
Well,
Oh,
this
this
says
is
March 2021 Quality Progress. So
good catch.
and I just took this screenshot.
Going back because it stopped sharing because I have conflict here with my screens. I can need to go back to April, to March. Well, I'll just talk about Pareto's. Donna.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's didn't realize I should have logged in before I went there. So let me share my screen again. So there is, if you go on to ASQ.org, there's a great article called Proving Their Metal. And so I would suggest that, and they use a Pareto analysis there for determining which ages are most affected. People of what age are most affected by the virus. As you probably can assume, the older 85 plus contributed to most of the infections. So, I mean, we've already kind of talked about the, okay.
This is it?
Yeah, that's it.
The virus. Is there a Pareto here somewhere?
Yeah, go down a little lower, little more. It looks a little different when you just look at it on the website. Right there.
Oh, so small.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, see, I was going to copy it, but I wasn't sure that was allowed. Let's put it in my slides. So anyway, it was a great example of a Pareto analysis and a Pareto chart.
Yeah, it's not legible. Yeah. What is the top section here? What is 80 plus years?
Yeah, I think it's 85 plus. So that's what I have in the slides are my references and the resources I used, and that's really.
You wanted to? I can share may I share my 2 cents here, Donna?
Yeah.
When I use Pareto, something that I like to do is from the first Pareto, I select then the top section or the top 2. And then I do a new Pareto of these ones to get to the specifics of this. For instance, here on the age, that can be your first Pareto. On the second Pareto, just from this section, just from this over 80 years old, you do another Pareto of maybe diabetes, cancer, some preconditions, and that will give you a more specific priority. So that's my 2 cents per priority tools.
Yeah, all these tools can be used iteratively over and over. Like I say, in the shampoo bottles, it used to say rinse and repeat. That's what we're doing here as well.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone for your comments and input. I appreciate it.
Somebody wants to share what tools they use? Or just a comment, any sharing? One by one, please, one by one. Well, I have the gift cards from Amazon, and so far I only have 4 people participated: Milton, Sharon, Brian, and Spurling. If somebody else wants to enter to go into the draw for these gift cards, you just need to share something.
Well, I'll get it started off for you. One of the things that we use trying to determine a solution for a direction we want to go with a CRM product was the prioritization method. And what we did is to go, what was important for us was to get what was important from the users first before they start putting weights on anything in the charts or how they want to go about it, because everybody, there were 2 main competitors, but there were actually 3 products we were looking at. And there were people in each corner each camp who wanted what they wanted each product. So what we spent a lot of time doing is going to the end users and things, determining what is really important, no matter what product you use, what that product must do, setting up what the requirements were, and then prioritizing those requirements so we can get away what function was the most important, then weighting those functions, and then we start applying it to the products themselves, to the application solutions, and to spend a lot of time there doing that. But we spent a lot of legwork up front trying to determine what were the guiding rules or guidelines we're going to use to judge them by.
Yeah. Novel concept, asking the users, right, or the customers.
Yes. That way you deliver what they really want.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, somebody else?
If you can tell, this is not my window outside. Everything in my yard is frozen, so this was me being hopeful.
Well, if nobody else is sharing, I'm gonna mute everybody in order that we can, well, I don't think I can unmute people. Yes, I'm gonna unmute all in order that we can give a round of applause to Donna.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Looking forward for if somebody else in the future wants to share a tutorial, we can be your audience. You can practice your public speaking and start your career as a consultant. Okay, if nobody else, somebody wants to share something, then we can say goodbye. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you,
night.
Donna. Bye-bye.
Bye.